Hi guys, my name is Olga Donchenko with parkbench.com, and today I'm meeting with Greg Heller from the Chef Upstairs. Thanks
Hello.
for meeting with me. Hi.
Nice meeting you.
So tell me a little bit about your business. I understand that you took it over about 10 years ago. You have quite an extensive background in finance. So how did you come
I've
into a cooking school?
I've been an entrepreneur since 1985 and done a number of different ventures and sort of stumbled into this. One of my friends I was playing hockey with was a caterer, and he was approached by the previous owner looking for a partner because their chef had left them, and we had met with the owner. Didn't work out for what my friend was interested in, but I was interested in the business for an entirely different reason, actually, because I'd spent 20 years in franchising, and we liked the model of what he had here. And he had 3 different buildings at that time, and we looked at putting a chef upstairs on the top floor and a gourmet food shop on the bottom floor, and then doing a real estate play off of that. It didn't work out in the long term, but at the end of the day, he said, "I'll make you an offer you can't refuse on buying the chef upstairs." My youngest sister's an event planner, so I called her up because she's more experienced in that area, and she liked the place, and we went into business.
You couldn't refuse the offer.
That's right.
So how was it like when you just first started? I believe it was 2008.
Yeah, so we bought in August 2008, and 4 weeks later the financial markets collapsed, and we were okay until the end of the year because we had Christmas parties booked, but then everybody stopped spending money, and for the next 18 months it was dead. We, no one was spending money in 2009, and corporations weren't spending money. So it was pretty desperate times. We lost a lot of money in those 18 months. We had a couple of the women that worked for my sister managing the location. We slowly got it moving, but it wasn't making money. And in 2011, I was between consulting jobs, and I thought, you know what, I'll just come in and run it myself for 6 months. If it doesn't go, we'll just close the business. If it goes, great. So it went.
It went. And we're glad it did.
Yes, yes.
I understand that you have different staff. Tell me a little bit, how do you motivate your staff?
So in the beginning, I had a staff of 4 or 5 different chefs that were all doing different things. They were working in restaurants or catering. And then when we booked an event, I would book a chef and I would book a couple of servers. And so they just worked part-time for us. They were basically contract workers. But the business model was quite unique. I knew exactly what my labor costs were. I knew exactly what my food costs were because we would buy food fresh for every event. So I always knew what my gross margin was. The chefs ran the show and the servers knew what they had to do. And it's a really fun space because, people don't get to cook with chefs. You go to a restaurant, they're hidden in a small room in the back. They might come out at the end of the night and say hi to you, but you never see what they're really doing. Here, you sit around the stove, half a dozen people are back working with the chef. The others are sitting around having a glass of wine, and the chef's giving tips and tricks and, telling people or explaining, how they do things in, first-class restaurants type of thing. So people really love that. The staff really likes it because, there's a lot of negative press these days about, the hard life working in restaurants. There's lots of harassment and abuse. They're underpaid. Restaurants people think are making a fortune, but they're making it on the backs of the employees. So my business model has always been is to hire people smarter than me and pay them well and empower them. And it works. So that's been our model from day one. And then, in the busy time of year like this, they call me and say, I've got a chance to do a catering job on, such and such a date. Do you have anything going there? Because I'd rather work for you.
That's amazing. That's a great sign that they're really enjoying their workspace.
Yeah, and if you take care of them, they take care of you. If something goes sideways and you need a favor, it's no problem asking.
They're there for
it.
you.
Yeah.
I understand you have the adult cooking classes and the kids cooking classes. So what is it like cooking with kids compared to adults?
The kids we do both kids and we do teens. They don't, they're not afraid of anything. So they're not afraid of making mistakes. Whereas if you get adults in here that don't really know how to cook but want to learn, they're really nervous and self-conscious about making a mistake or something. Whereas a kid, they're just sponges and they suck it up. And yeah, they're amazing. And we teach them just like adults. Like they're not in here making chicken fingers and simple cookies. They're doing the same menus that our adults do.
Wow.
So the parents are really amazed at the kind of food that they're cooking here in these classes.
Do they go home and show it to their parents?
Oh,
Do they
yeah.
actually put on a show of cooking?
Yeah, like when we do our 8-week program, the last week is always an Iron Chef, and quite often, so that's a really cool event. So you usually divide the class into 2 teams, and they square off against each other, and clean out the fridge, and they figure out how to use it. They're allowed to use their smartphones because all the kids have one nowadays, and they Google it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and then we usually do in one of those weeks we'll do like a family dinner kind of thing so that they can go home and repeat it and do it for their parents and their siblings. So.
That's exciting. Can you share one of your most memorable experiences with a customer, kid or adult?
Yeah.
Couple?
It was actually a big screw up. It was, this time several years ago, it was probably going back maybe 7 years ago or so. It was the first quiet day we had in December. I was sitting in the kitchen there doing my accounting, and at 10 to 1, my computer beeped, saying you have an appointment coming up, and I looked and it said, at 2 o'clock you have a large group of 18 people coming in for lunch, and I thought, no, it's not today, it's on the 22nd, because we'd gone back and forth on dates. So I quickly looked through all my emails and I went, oh my God, it really is today. And they're gonna be here in like an hour, and I have no chef, and I have no food, and I have no serving staff. So one of my buddies, now I'm the chairperson of the Mount Pleasant Business Improvement Association, but at that time Neil was the chairman, and he had a restaurant across the road. And I called him and I go, Neil, I really screwed up. Are you busy this afternoon by any chance? And he goes, actually I'm not. So I told him what was going on. He said, yeah, I'll come over and cook for you. So that was one problem solved.
You got the chef?
Yeah. He said, what's the menu? I told him. He said, well, I have a load of chicken breasts coming in, and I have molten chocolate lava cakes that I'm going to do for service tonight. So I'll bring those over. We had a roasted beet salad. He said, run up to Sobeys, here's the ingredients you need to get. I called my sister and I said, I need 2 of your women to come over and serve, because a lot of her people also work for us here. They were busy preparing for something, but they dropped it and they came over. So, at 2 o'clock the guests started arriving, and we were semi-ready. I took the organizer aside and I explained, I said, we had a bit of a screw up, but we're going to still have a great event, and I'll make it up to you, because it's not going to be quite what you were hoping for in terms of the interaction and the cooking class style. But none of her people knew that. They thought it was an amazing afternoon, and they were quite happy. So, and the organizer was happy that we pulled it off. I was ready just to call and order food and bring it in if I couldn't get staff. So you don't want to let your customers down.
Of course. I'm sure they weren't let down.
Yeah.
It was a memorable experience for them as well, right?
Yeah, it just goes to show that no one's perfect, but if you, there's always a way to figure out a problem, right?
Of course. And honesty wins in the end.
Yeah.
That's great. What is something most people don't know about your business?
Don't know. I guess that we do a lot of different things. That we do, not only do we do events here at the Chef Upstairs, but we do catering, and we do private chefing in people's homes. So that's a great add-on that we added a few years back, and it's really, really popular. We've even had a couple of private proposals where, you know, it's usually the man that is doing the proposing, and we'll go to their venue. We had somebody rent an Airbnb. They were coming in from out of town, and you know, so we sent the chef over and planned a great evening for them.
That's amazing.
And she said yes, so it was
That's
good.
always a good ending as well, right?
Yes.
That's nice. What would your customers say they love most about your business?
It's the interaction, like working with the chefs, and you know, it's a really fun experience. There's, you know, if you observed any of the classes, there's lots of laughter going on, whether it's a private event or it's a corporate event. You know, somebody slicing and dicing and chopping in behind, and the other part of the group is standing around the outside and observing and chatting and usually making fun of their friends' culinary skills. So it's just a fun experience. It's good food, it's good wine, it's good, you know, it's infotainment, I guess is the best way to describe it. So.
You chose to be in this neighborhood 10 years ago. Since then, have you noticed any significant changes?
Yeah, so, you know, we bought the business in August of 2008. The previous owner had been involved with creating a business improvement association on Mount Pleasant. So they had just gotten their charter when we bought, and he said, you know, you've been in business a long time. I think you'd be really helpful for the people in the BIA. I think they would like you on the board. So I joined the board, and I'm still on the board today.
Chairman. Yeah.
So we've done a lot of things in those 10 years. You know, we've added street posts that we hang our summer flowers and our banners and our winter Christmas decorations. We do events, so we have a shop, wine, and dine event in the spring. We have a harvest fair in September, and we have our winter wonderland window event